that we postpone consideration of item number 15 on the agenda indefinitely.
I'll support.
Motion by Vic to postpone the item indefinitely.
Did I speak to that?
Yeah, I wish you would.
Okay.
It was seconded by Brad. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Okay.
He's saying indefinitely.
Well, that's the news, right?
Okay, the reason I'm doing this is the original option to lease that came before the county board was done with very little notice, and almost every supervisor on the county that I talked to at the time, when I was campaigning here a year ago, said they had not read it, didn't understand it, and if they would have, they probably would not have voted for it. Well, we had that option, and it was in effect. Gtac made a decision. It was a very conscious and deliberate decision. It wasn't an accidental oversight not to renew that lease. Therefore, it's back to the county to consider where do we want to go from here. I think there are a number of reasons, and Attorney Jacobs in his letter outlined a number of reasons why we might want to consider adopting a new lease. We have a mining impact committee, we have a finance committee, we have a zoning committee, we have a forestry committee that are all touched by different parts of this mining issue. And for the most part, they're kind of operating independently. We don't seem to have a common plan. Sometimes we're not all on the same page, and I include the full county board in that. And I think it's time, if I can use a sporting analogy, is to say, time out. Let's go ahead and take a look, number one, where we're at. Where do we think we want to go? I think the lease needs to be re-examined. Should we not have a lease with Gtac or any future mining company? No, I think we need a lease, but it needs to be a lease that protects Iron County. I had a conversation with Mr. Williams not too long ago, and we cleared the air on something. He is hired to do a job for the mining company. That's his boss. I understand that. He's supposed to do what he is told to do, or he doesn't have a job. We also have an employer that happens to be the taxpayers and electors of this county that elected us. And we have a job to see that we get the absolute best deal that we can for the taxpayers of Iron County. The Iron County, the zoning committee, the other committees I mentioned, this county board has done absolutely nothing to prevent Gtac from getting their permit in mining. The state, the various committees that we have all bent over backwards, if you will, to give Gtac what they want. Even in the zoning ordinance that we have under consideration, if you look at the bills from Mr. Jacobs, many phone conversations, consultations with a mining company to get what they wanted into that ordinance. This county has done nothing to discourage Gtac from mining. And I think revisiting our lease option so that we do the best job for the taxpayers of Iron County is a job that we have to do. And therefore, I feel we need to take some time. I have some suggestions for you, Mr. Chairman. You could appoint a task force of some members of this board and maybe some other people to say, okay, now, time out. We're going to look at this whole thing all over again, and let's come up with what we want to protect the Iron County taxpayers in a new lease. The other option, as Mr. Jacobs outlined in his letter, is to go ahead and have a full meeting of the county board in closed session. I don't totally agree with his idea of a closed session. I think we need to do most of this in open session and be transparent with the people that hired us to do this job. But I think we need to step back, take some time, and come up with a plan that is best for Iron County.
There's a motion on the floor, a second. Roll call?
We discuss it?
There's more discussion, you want more discussion? No, go ahead.
Okay, I agree with Vic. I'd like to talk to Gtac. 1 year, they don't have to pay us, but at the end of the year, we'll have all of our paperwork done, all of our ordinances, whatever they require, so they'll know exactly what they're gonna pay us, how much, everything's gonna cost, what they're gonna get, and we can go from there. I don't like the word indefinite in it. I like
Could I-
1 year.
Yeah, could I clarify that? It would take a different motion to postpone definitely to a specific time. There are some reasons that I used what I did. We may determine that in 6 months or 3 months, we're ready to go ahead with this. So it really gives a great deal of discretion to the county board chair as well as this board to say, hey, we've done our homework and now we're ready to go ahead and sit down with Gtac. So that's why I used the term indefinitely. It doesn't mean that it'll never come back. It would take a motion, for example, at our next county board meeting to bring this back to the whole board again. But we're not mandated to do it under a tight timetable. I think that's been part of the problem in the past. This stuff hits us 2-3 days sometimes before we're expected to vote on it. And I think this issue is one of the most important issues that has faced Iron County for a long time and will perhaps for the future. And I think we need to take the time to get it right. That's why I made the motion the way I did.
And I think also we should notify Gtac in a resolution or something that we will hold the land for them for that 1 year. We won't sell it or lease it to anybody else, that they got first choice on it. If they come up, and we come up with all of our paperwork to deal next year, 1st of January.
And that would be a good thing to give to the chairperson who could bring it up as a separate resolution, or you could at a future meeting. But right now, this basically says, time out, we're gonna sit down, take some time to figure out where we are, and then hopefully proceed responsibly going into the future.
Mr. Chairman, I would say the big point is appointing a committee, probably is okay, but I wouldn't appoint a committee of 3 or 5. I'd appoint the entire county board as a committee as a whole. That we would, the committee would still have to come back and report to the county board as to what they're doing, what they want to do. We should have the entire county board sit, and every one of them has got a voice in it that way. If you have a committee, they're gonna have to come back to the county board. Then we're gonna have it all. The whole county board should sit there as a committee as a whole, and act on this.
That's kind of what Chris Jacob's recommendation was, that was what his recommendation was for the full board to.
That's just it, because that committee is gonna still have to come back and report. This way, we're all informed at one time. And we got the questions, we asked one another and argued out. But I think you should, as chairman, you could, after whatever we decide now,
Well, whatever the outcome
call a
of this,
special meeting of the county board
whatever
and,
the outcome of this is, we'll have to.
pardon?
We'll proceed from the outcome of this election.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Jack.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Pope?
I don't know, is there anything that anybody wants me to add?
Do you know what's on the floor?
Well, I believe you're discussing the option.
Well, we made a motion to postpone consideration of that item indefinitely. So,
No.
Are you gonna rescind that motion, actually changes the time?
no.
Then I'll vote against it.
I will too. I
Well,
won't
then you can
indefinitely, I
amend it.
won't, Vic. I won't, not indefinitely, I want this
I'll
over.
vote time certain, but I won't vote time indefinite.
We all know what's in there. We've all gone through it. Everybody's been at mining impact committees. We know what our strategy is. We know where we're trying to go. Another year is not going to put us in a better position.
No,
We're
absolutely not.
waiting to get to that spot where that ordinance is approved and this, and now we can sit down at the table
That's why we
with
should all
us
be
and
here.
them.
That's why we all.
So we need to, we've been trying to get this back with the zoning ordinance in place so we can get them back to the bargaining table to a local agreement. This has been our desire right along,
This is
Scott. I
our-
agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's my point. Why do we need another indefinite timeline
need to
to
move forward.
get there?
I went,
Yeah,
I went
yeah,
up to
let's-
Gtac, and the reason they don't wanna pay us for this 1 year is because they wanna step back and analyze everything that's coming in. We should be able to do the same. We should be able to step back and say, okay, you're gonna step back, analyze for free. Let's us step back, analyze for free, we'll come back and meet. They know what they want, we know what we want.
What's the rush?
Yeah, this Scott is correct there, with, we're hashing this thing, now to set back another year. It serves no use for purpose.
No,
Gotta move forward. Serves no use.
we put time, effort, energy, money into discussing what our strategy was gonna be. I mean,
Any other discussion on the board?